let's get back a little bit into, the wrestling industry. You having that rough pass in your life, and you had the opportunity to put yourself in the correct pathway and enter inside the wrestling industry. You wrestle all around the world, but as mentioned in the beginning of this interview, you wrestle in Puerto Rico, a really rough place to wrestle and a really rough place to be in. How was your experience? The beach, everything was pretty, the sun and everything, but the fans here were really, really hardcore. They were difficult. How was your experience as a wrestler and as a human working in Puerto Rico?
Frightening. Fans, when you get to the level of passion that they have and the level of excitement that they got to in the course of, even before the show started, just preparing for the show, dangerous people out there. And it caused you to realize, hey, we're here to put on a show, but the reason these people are so rabid and so bent out of shape, and if you were a heel, so desperately wanting you to get your ass kicked, is their passion for the business. And you had to look at it from their slant. They just went about showing you their passion the wrong way. Throwing a 3D battery and getting hit in the head from 30 yards will screw up your afternoon, my friend. Make no mistake. And the fans were always that way. You heard about them, you learned about them, you were told about them before you got there. You just didn't go out and push your luck, because there's a lot of tough people in that crowd, and a lot of them that don't want their buttons pushed. So let's just say I got in and out as quickly as possible.
Definitely, it is a rough place to be. The Bushwhackers have incredible stories about Puerto Rico too, involving those D batteries specifically. But I wanted to ask, you managed to do so many things in your career. One of them was being part of what, in my opinion, is the best stable of all times, and I'm talking about the Four Horsemen. Who came up with the idea of creating this group and managed to put four of the best technical wrestlers and an incredible manager in one same place?
This is going to sound like a Mary Poppins, Fantasyland type story, but this is the God's truth. In the days of Jim Crockett Promotions, you had 3 minutes and 30 seconds for a segment to do promos. Now, Tully had a match. Ole and I had a match. Ric Flair had a match. JJ was managing. And it just so happened on this particular market spec promo, we all had to get in there at one time, because there just was not enough time to cover all those matches. There wasn't 4 interview segments, and there were 4, if that makes sense. There was 1 interview segment. We had to cover those matches. And when it came my turn to speak, I had been looking for the first time at Ric Flair and Ole and Tully and myself and JJ. And I was looking at that picture, and just almost like magic, it popped into my head, Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse. The quote, I believe, goes something like this: never has there been so much damage inflicted on so many by so few. And that quote just popped in my head, and I looked and I went, you're looking at the Four Horsemen of professional wrestling. And that's the first time it had been mentioned, and it was in a Bible verse that I stole it from. And when it was over, Tony Schiavone walked up to me and he went, Arn, Jesus Christ, you just named you guys. And I went, you think so? I mean, there's no 4 fingers or anything. Came up in the next week, and we did a promo, and I added this to it. 3rd week, we went to the arenas all that week, and it flamed up. It caught on. It wasn't booked by an office. A booker didn't come up with it. It just kind of evolved, and it just happened, and we went with it. And I agree with you. I don't care if I was part of it. It was the most influential group to ever been assembled in the history of professional wrestling.
Arn Anderson no estaba en estos momentos contento con lo que estaba pasando en Puerto Rico. ¿Por qué motivo? Estaba aterrorizado, las historias, las cosas, pero sobre todo el público era tan apasionado, como él decía, Hernando se luchó en Puerto Rico muchas veces, pero el público era tan apasionado que el nivel de pasión era peligroso y comenzaban a arrojarle baterías y objetos. Recordemos la historia del mismo Nikita Koloff, que con un spark plug le cortaron un brazo por el lado, entre muchísimas otras personas, pero Arn Anderson en particular dice, una batería en la cabeza en la tarde puede arruinarle el día a cualquiera, así que era peligroso. Yo llegaba a Puerto Rico y me iba tan pronto podía, rapidito, todo a las millas. Menciona también la historia de cómo nacen, ¿qué? Los Four Horsemen. Menciona que ellos estaban en una promo, estaban los cuatro juntos, estaba JJ y se topan con la situación de como que, ok, de aquí puede salir algo. Y a Arn Anderson le viene rápido a la mente los cuatro jinetes del apocalipsis. Esa referencia bíblica fue como nace el grupo de los Four Horsemen, ese es el nombre. Y cuando acaba esa promo, Tony Schiavone le dice, Arn, acabas de darle el nombre al grupo, acabas de nombrar un grupo completo. Y la próxima semana van a televisión, les toca hacer una promo y llega el gesto de los cuatro dedos. Y de esa manera, poco a poco, todo va encajando hasta que Arn Anderson es parte y crean lo que él mismo y dijo, y cito, es el grupo más influyente en la historia de la industria de la lucha libre, los Four Horsemen.